teacher in the country get off to a strong start to their first year and have some stick-to-itiveness, to help them get through that first year. So we're offering a year free access to the Stride Professional Development Center. It's a ever-growing online database of courses that will help them in a variety of different ways. Classroom management, targeted instruction, and a host of other things. And the content will continuously grow. Again, it's just another resource that allows them to sharpen their practice, to feel like they're supported, because the research says that teachers are leaving in large part because they don't feel like they get enough professional support. So we really hope that helps new teachers. So again, this is for any new teacher who just graduated in the country. All you have to do is go to our site and sign on using the Teachers Win discount at checkout. Also, we have another campaign where during Teacher Appreciation Week, we gifted all teachers in the country, no matter where you are, 6 months free Professional Development Center access. But we're doing a special thing through our partnership with the BCSN and our HBCU graduates, and also the schools that you work with. We want any teacher in the country who through our partnership gets access to the Professional Development Center, and they get 6 months free using the BCSN 23 passcode at checkout. Again, our goal is to support and get as many teachers on the site feeling supported, to really help them succeed and have some success, not only for them, but obviously for our kids and the communities they serve. So.
Most definitely. And Darren, listen, we are super excited again to be a part of this. My mother was a teacher. My aunt was a teacher. I have my best friend is a teacher. Absolutely. So we understand. I've worked in the school system for years. So I understand the resources that are needed. I understand why a lot of these teachers do take the time and they sit there, and after going through college, they're like, you know what, let's do something different. Yeah. So we're happy to be a part of this to help you guys change that. So ladies and gentlemen, here's all you guys need to do. All you need to do is take a look and go to the link that's right below us right now and see what you're going to do. You're going to see 2 links on the page now, just to make sure. The top one takes you to their professional development page, homepage, that'll let you know about some of the things that are happening there and the things that you have access to. Go to the second link that says Teacher Appreciation. That'll take you directly to the content page where you can sign up and get your free year if you're a new teacher, and your free 6 months if you're an existing teacher. Let's show them how we utilize resources, and we make sure that we take time, those folks who are HBCU alum, and use this. And let's see what Stride has to offer. We're excited about it. We know you will be too. Darren, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the folks?
No, I mean, just, as a teacher myself, and understanding the need, and of course with the diversity that's needed in our teaching corps across the country, I know our HBCU teacher graduates are just exactly what we need in our community. So I really encourage them, and just glad to be doing this partnership with you all.
All right. Well, folks, there you go again. Mr. Darren Reed, Senior Vice President of Stride Professional Development Learning. We will be seeing you guys, and trust me, you'll be seeing more from their partnership with us as we move forward, always trying to do our best to make sure that we move forward with the community. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won a loss. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won a loss, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bills inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington's out on assignment, so we brought in Brian Fulford. It is appropriate, when you talk about #1 FAMU Rattlers. We'll see if they remain that week in the poll rankings, but that's what they are coming into this week, and they have a matchup with Prairie View. this weekend. So we got some folks, and we got Charles representing Texas Southern. So it should be interesting after they just had a matchup themselves between each other in Houston. So we'll get into it. Welcome to episode 449 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small. From the NEIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. Short, we just call it HBCU sports pedagogy. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta, Cavil, along with my co-hosts, Brian Fulford and Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studio and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, Charles, 2 days down, man. Been pretty good.
2 days down.
Good. You hadn't got the phone call yet, so everything's safe.
That's all right. That's all right. You got everything under control over there, Doc. I had to call and mess with my nephew. I said, man.
I didn't say that now.
Had to call and mess with my nephew. He visited Virginia State this weekend, had a tremendous time. And then he was the first one to tell me, he's like, the only thing, Unc, is they lost today. I said, no, they played Elizabeth City. I don't think they lost Elizabeth City. You sure? He's like, no, they lost today. Said, no. Let me go check this. Oh, what? Virginia State lost Elizabeth. So we had a nice little laugh about that.
I'm sure you did, but I'm not sure Virginia State Trojans had much of a laugh.
Right.
We'll get to see if they'll bounce back this week, and that's a good lead in. Other than that, how you doing?
Doing well. I had a busy day, midterms this week. We got in midterm grades, probably go out sometime this week on some football team. So fun stuff.
Good stuff. Brian, how you doing?
I'm great, Doc. It's homecoming week. The greatest homecoming in the universe is right in Tallahassee. Of course, Charles, you get a chance to come experience that. Doc, come on. I hope you're going to get on the private jet and fly on out to Tallahassee as well.
I'll be back in December. I had my stuff booked. I pulled it. I said it was because of the last week's game against Houston Christian, but the truth is, as I told you, my wife is traveling, so it's just Deuce and I. Our plane is not getting back in time for me to be able to catch the plane I originally had, get down that way, and make a good weekend of it. So I had to cancel that, and I just pushed it to December.
So we already booking flights and we booking hotels for Tallahassee.
Yeah, might as well.
That's what we do. We stay ahead of it.
Just checking.
We're in the sports business. We've done it the last couple of years for Jackson State, and we figured it's cheaper just to rebook it if there's some changes. Not that we can't be imperfect, but particularly when we in the area where we can get there by Southwest Airlines, with these games being home, it's good to try to book it in early. You just flip it. We've literally done it. If you think about it, we did it pre-COVID, going back to the Alcorn days. We flew into New Orleans and we drive up to Alcorn, and we seen them pretty early, locking things in as soon as we could. We flip the switch, we lock it in. And thus far, we're 100%. So Brian, tell your rattlers, don't mess it up.
No. You see, I'm trying to grow up and be like y'all, media ballers. That's what I'm calling you guys. That's what I'm trying to get to.
You're not a regular on Sunday, so we give a cigar for our hosts and their team if they win. So this is to you, celebration for last weekend, getting the victory against Texas Southern. So officially, you have gotten your cigar, especially since it's homecoming. Don't show out too much, and it's just your cigar, so you don't have to share.
I tell the piece of advice that I give everybody this week: hydrate. That's it. Hydrate. That's the key word this week. Hydrate.
I'm with you, but I'm gonna add a couple of more for you brothers that are a little more seasoned, ladies as well. Especially if you're part of these organizations. Not only do you need to hydrate in terms of you celebrating the spirits, but be careful about some of your spins and how hard you put your ankle down in terms of your step. How high them band folks, they do the leg lifts. Be a little cognizant because you're not what you used to be.
Yeah, don't tear a hamstring. Exactly.
Exactly. Break a bone or anything like that.
Work on Monday.
Slip a disc. We do need you back in the office on Monday, Tuesday, whatever you do in terms of extended vacation. With that being said, let's get into it before we get too far gone. Charles, you got some news of the day that you want to share?
Yeah, let's start out with FAMU. They claimed the SWAC women's cross-country title. Women's cross-country program claimed the 2023 SWAC conference title on yesterday, this past Monday. The women are the first FAMU team to garner that accomplishment this season and did so with a 63 total points. So we take a look at it. FAMU earns their first women's cross-country title as a member of the SWAC. So kudos, congratulations to FAMU women cross-country team for their title yesterday.
Good deal. Adding on some of those SWAC titles as we switch over, pretty good. With that being said, Brian, I'm going to go back to you and ask you what's hot news that you want to get out today.
Well, I'll go over to the men's side. Texas Southern men winning the SWAC men's cross-country title with it was their 7th title in school history. And, of course, I guess it came down to a bit of a nail-biting race there as TSU established its position in the top half, but was in 3rd place with about 1,170 kilometers. I don't know what that is in terms of miles, yards, and feet. The team moved up to 2nd after the 2170 mark as Jose Gonzalez held his ground in 2nd place, while David Livingston moved up the ranks at the 3,000 kilometer mark. I'm tired already just thinking about the number of kilometers that are being run. The race turned into an all-Texas affair as SWAC rival Prairie View A&M topped the charts with TSU close behind. The Panthers had 4 runners within the top 11 spots, while Gonzalez was the only Tiger in the top 11 at that point. At the halfway mark, that's 4,000 kilometers. For those of you who didn't know, it's an 8,000-kilometer race. PV still maintained a stronghold, but here comes TSU beginning to make a final push themselves into position to make a late run. And the final 1,000 kilometers left, and the SWAC title on the line. Martinez relayed his message to the team, which was something he has preached all season long. And with the meet coming to an end, TSU still behind at the 7,000-kilometer mark. PV had the 5-point lead, 3 runners inside the top 10. The Tigers fought through the pressure, persevered as Gonzalez placed 2nd. Brandon Washington made the late push to move into the top 10, surpassing 3 runners to finish 9th, while freshman Jeremiah Berea finished 11th. Senior Dan Lerma finished 14th to maintain their position, along with Livingstone, to seal the 7th title in school history. And just so the scoring, just in case people don't understand, the way the scoring goes is the top 5 runners, the place of the top 5 runners from your team determine your points, which is, kind of how Florida A&M bested Alabama State. Similar situation here. Even though Texas Southern didn't necessarily have the top runner overall, you can still get it done if the top 5 guys can get up there. And so, props to Texas Southern for getting it done. And then, of course, props to Coach Garfield Ellenwood and the Lady Rattlers for getting it done as well.
Good stuff. Shout out to Coach Clyde Duncan.
Coach Duncan.
Getting it done in cross country. Legendary coach there at Texas Southern with the Flying Tigers. He gets another championship on the men's side for cross country. I guess I'll have to talk with Dr. Kevin Granger, VP of Athletics, because steak dinner should be nice in terms of the cross country. I'm gonna have to make sure I squeeze myself in there as well.
I heard you giving them out.
I was gonna say the same. I was gonna say the same thing. You giving them out, man? Like we're giving away cars, Doc.
The receiving side.
You get a steak. I tell you
exactly,
what,
man. I always had me a whole. I'm gonna have to talk to Simmons. Like, hold on, Coach. You let up. Coach said, I won't mind. Oh my goodness. I'm about being broke. What?
To get you a farm, Coach, and we get you a farm and some cattle, Doc. That's what we need to look into.
Exactly. Yeah,
hey, if any sponsors are listening, hey,
yeah, we'll take them all.
Doc needs giving out steaks, all right?
Yes, indeed. With that, let me go back to you, Charles, and see what honors do you want to get out there before we get to this break.
Yeah, let's look at the SWAC football honors for this past week for October 23rd. The SWAC has named Alcorn State's Aaron Allen and Malachi Bailey, along with Jackson State's Jacoby Morgan, its SWAC football players of the week for their impressive performances this past week. Let's take a look at Aaron Allen, the quarterback for Alcorn. He went 14 of 26 for 219 yards and 2 touchdowns during Alcorn's win over UAPB on Saturday. He also had 5 carries for 37 yards and a rushing touchdown. On the defensive side of the ball, Malachi Bailey, he totaled 4 tackles, 3 of them solo, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 sack and 1 forced fumble, and 1 pass breakup. He also sold a hot dog in the concession stand and a quarterback hurry during Alcorn State's win over UAPB. Full day for Malachi Bailey. Newcomer of the week, Jacoby Morgan, threw for a touchdown and rushed for a touchdown during Jackson State's win over Mississippi Valley on Saturday. He tallied 10 rushes for 75 yards and a touchdown. He also threw for 141 yards and a touchdown and connected with 9 different receivers. So those are your SWAC football players of the week.
Great job there, Charles. And the hot dogs were good and sweet, along with some of that French chicken. Or at least that's what Duke said.
Hey, it looked like it.
You must have been working, Charles. I see that now. You must have been working, right?
Yeah, I was out there, in the field plowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people have to work for a living for real. Brian, what honors do you want to share with us today?
Well, let's go over to the MEAC, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. Their football honors presented by Coca-Cola. You had quarterback Quint Williams, the offensive player of the week. Howard defensive back Kenny Gallup Jr. was the defensive player of the week. South Carolina State's Jawarn Howell, the rookie of the week. Also, his teammate Eric Brown Jr. was the offensive lineman of the week, and Norfolk State's Grandin Wilcox, the special teams player of the week. Williams tallied 3 touchdowns, including a game-winning drive and a comeback against Norfolk State. He was 14 of 24, passing for 240 yards and 2 touchdowns, including 42 yards on the ground, 5 carries and 1 touchdown. Big-time performance by that young man. Gallup Jr. produced a season-high 11 tackles, 6 of them solo, 1 tackle for loss, a half a sack, and also had a game-clinching interception. Big-time effort, game-clinching interception to secure Howard's victory over Norfolk State on homecoming. Now, Jawarn Howell, look, what this young man did in 1 quarter, pretty amazing. He scored 3 touchdowns on 13 carries, 119 total yards. I think the Bulldogs rushed for 357 yards total. They actually had 3 guys over 90-plus yards. But, of course, Howell with 3 touchdowns gets the big accolades. And then, of course, the offensive lineman, Eric Brown, he graded out a 95% on his assignments. I already mentioned the Bulldogs rushing. They had a total of 522 total offense. Brown also had 5 pancake blocks in the team's win. And then Brandon Wilcox made 3 of his field goal attempts, including a career-best 50-yard field goal, 1 shy of the school's record. Also had a 36-yarder and recorded 2-point after attempts. And trust me, that 50-yarder, you kind of thought the game might have been over after that point, but Mr. Williams said, not so fast, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Good one. You true. You got interesting there. Charles, I see you can't just rep your graduate school. You have to go back and make sure you represent your undergrad. They won't take your
Jackson, they so gangster. Even with my mama. Well, hey, where's something that says Jackson State? Really, mama? Really?
Love it.
I got you. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, it's tough when you get checked by your mama.
Oh, man. I had to reach up and get a cap.
I'm going to leave that one right there. Before we go in this break, last update you want to give in terms of volleyball accolades for the MEAC?
Yeah, let's take a look at the MEAC weekly volleyball honors. Norfolk State's Gabriel Gilbert was named the MEAC Player of the Week, presented by Coca-Cola, and Coppin State's
Coco Figueroa was named the Rookie of the Week, while Howard sophomore Claire Simpson earned Defensive Player of the Week honors, respectively. Norfolk State's Sydney McCree was named the Setter of the Week. So let's take a look at their accolades. First, we start with Gabrielle Gilbert. She tied her season best with 22 kills in the 4-set victory over North Carolina Central, while hitting 40% in the match. In a 3-set win over South Carolina State, she hit for 52% with 15 kills on 23 attempts with only 3 errors. Gilbert averaged 5.28 kills per set, totaling 37 for the weekend and hit 44%. Additionally, she collected 2 assists, 2 service aces, 4 blocks, and 13 digs. Figueroa, she recorded 11 digs for making her first career start at libero. In the 5-set win over Delaware State, she added 4 digs in the sweep at Maryland Eastern Shore. Simpson, as it pulls back up, Simpson averaged 3.78 digs per set in victories over Morgan State and North Carolina Central. She tallied 12 digs in the road win against the Lady Bears in Washington, D.C., and racked up 21 digs and 3 service aces in the road victory against North Carolina Central. And we ended up with Sydney McCree. She recorded 10.3 assists, 1.9 digs, 1 service ace, and 0.9 kills per set this weekend in wins over North Carolina Central and South Carolina State. She tallied 41 assists in 4 sets against North Carolina Central with 7 digs, 6 kills, and 3 service aces. She also racked up 31 assists, 6 digs, and 4 service aces against South Carolina State in 3 sets. So those were your MEAC volleyball weekly honors.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Brian, yeah.
Well, I was gonna look. I know. Our good friend, Mr. Grant, watches the show regularly. Can we get a MEAC SWAC volleyball tournament? I would love to see. I'm an advocate. I would love to see Alabama State, FAMU versus, or in along with the Norfolk State and Howard, something like that. Give me the 2 best from the MEAC, the 2 best from the SWAC. Let's have a good weekend and see these interconference battles between schools that unfortunately don't get a chance to play each other. You know, I think this would be outstanding for the sport and HBCU. So I'm throwing out 3 ideas today. Homecoming week.
I like it. I know a broadcast company that would love to broadcast it and help them put it on ESPN Plus. I think we got one perfectly. BCSN, you know, not to say any drop any name, but we'll be right back after this break.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna love, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bills inside the HBCU Sports Lab as we get into our top 7 poll rankings for week number 8. We give a shout out to GIE, Alcorn's one of the biggest Alcorn fans out there, gracing the world with his style in regards to what he delivers. He's out here showing us some love. Appreciate you. With that being said, somebody say Frenchie's in the suite. It would be more like that. With that being said, let's get into the mid-major division of the top 7 this week. Not a lot of changes in terms of teams dropping out or jumping into it, but we do have some changes of what took place, as you imagine. Kind of led off with that with Virginia State taking the L, one that was not expected. So it'll be interesting to see just how far they fall and see if y'all agree with it or not. So nobody dropped out this week, as we said. Those receiving votes are Tuskegee Golden Tigers, 6-2, 5-1. You have Fort Valley State Wildcats, 6-2, 6-1. Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls are 5-3, 4-2. And just to show a little love, Langston Lions, as they continue to bounce back and play some football, they're just outside of that top 10 at 11. So it'll be interesting. They can keep rolling. I give them some love because they're the highest ranked NIA program, even though Florida Memorial's sneaking around there too. So both of those NIA programs are trying to figure out how they get into the top 10 and ultimately the top 7. With that being said, let's get into the top 7. At number 7 this week, Edward Waters Tigers, 5-3, 5-2, coming off another big win, second win, if you would, driving down the field to get it done. They improved to 5-3. 5-2 in terms of their rankings. They stay at number 7. At number 6, you have none other than the Fayetteville State Broncos, quietly getting it done, just steady Eddie, not fancy, but they do find a way to get the W's. They win the games they're supposed to win, and they might sneak in a win or two, one that you say they shouldn't get. They're at 6-2, 6-0 in the conference race. They are getting done 114 points as they are at number 6. At number 5, have none other than Allen Yellow Jackets as they continue to get it done, 6-2, 4-2, 131 points. They were previously ranked 3, so they do fall 2 spots after their tough loss in terms of what they got going on. At number 4, you have Virginia State Trojans, 7-1, 5-1. They fall 2 spots to number 4 this week in terms of what they have in their rankings. At number 3, Miles Golden Bears, they improved 2 spots, the 6-2, 5-1 overall, 140 points, previous ranked 5, so they climb up 2 spots this week. At number 2, Virginia Union Panthers, slowly of that early loss and the monsoon. AD likes to say it was a hurricane. They have crept all the way up to number 2, 7-1, 5-1. So you're still looking at a top 5 matchup at the end of the season between Virginia State Trojans, Virginia Union Panthers. Whoever wins that will likely face Fayetteville State. Somebody might be sneaking out of the South, say they got something to say. But a lot of people says it doesn't matter. It's going to be about the Northern Division. This time it's going to be out of Virginia. We'll see if that happens. Virginia Union, at the end of the day, jumps up 2 spots as they get it done. Number 1 shouldn't surprise you. That's the Benedict Tigers, 8-0, 6-0. They do get all 9 first-place votes, 190 points, as they're the lone perfect HBCU program, regardless of division, regardless of the division making, whether mid-major, major division, as they would say. They are number 1, unanimous number 1 in week number 8, holding it down as they continue to run and get it done. 8-0, 6-0 in the conference race. What do you think in terms of the rankings this week, Charles?
Raise your hands if you thought you were going to have a 7 versus 5 matchup with Edward Waters versus Allen this weekend. I can't say enough about Edward Waters. The Cardiac Cats, they do it again, down 17 points, claw their way back and get a big win over Albany State. Very deserving of being in your top 7 now.
Thank you. You talking about being exciting about what they get it done. You talking about those fans. That had to be magical. Watching those that maybe have traveled to Tuskegee and saw that for homecoming. They had their hands full, but if not, they watched it right here at BCSN. And so to get home and see that contest at home on their own, you know that they have to be flying high, but they got another top 5. It's something about the SIAC. Week after week, you're going to have a top 5 matchup, just how well those teams are playing. And what's crazy is those matchups don't necessarily have to be the number 1 team in Benedict that's kind of sitting there waiting to see who's going to find their way into that second spot for the championship, because they do not have divisions, but it's going to be crowded on the way there. And we'll be here to cover it, BCSN. We'll be here to talk about it, Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports, as well on Sunday with Brian and AD. With that being said, let me go to you, Brian. What are your thoughts on my top 7 in week number 8?
The SIAC is the gift that keeps giving. I mean, if you think about the conference matchups across all of the HBCU diaspora, this is the one conference that has probably delivered the best storylines, the most drama, probably I mean, how many teams are in the hunt right now? You got about 6, and you can honestly make a case for all 6. I mean, we don't see Benedict stumbling, but I think after them, we were talking about some doomsday scenarios over the next couple of weeks. And I mean, my mind is blown when you think about your top 7 does not include 2 teams who next week we could be talking about in the hunt for a spot in the championship. That's how crazy it is right now in the SIC. 2 teams are left off. The gift that keeps giving, man.
2 good teams, 6-1 and 5-1.
Yes, exactly. 2 teams that only have 1 loss in conference. That's how amazing and this season has been. This is one of those years where, you know, somebody can put the documentary together on the SIC and you would actually get a bowl of popcorn and just enjoy watching it. I mean, the story is still going to be written, but I mean, man, so far it's juicy.
That's crazy. 6 teams deep, and all of them are really good. Hopefully they don't cannibalize each other where that they might get 2 teams in the playoff. You know, they certainly will cannibalize each other in terms of finding out who's that second team, as it looks like Benedict is going to find a way to get it done. They still have a chance maybe to stop their toe. We'll see what that means, because it's not quite written. They still have that matchup with Allen at the end of the season, which could be a little interesting depending on how people fall into it. But with that said, let's go talk about some of these matchups on the other side. We'll be right back after this break.
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. We're never not working. Number 15?
That's my rub.
Ooh, nice.
Never not working.
Never, ever, never, ever not working.
Welcome everybody to Juneau, Alaska.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders scalp shield technology.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna love, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Mills inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Ryan Forford and Charles Bishop. Let's get into our mid-major games of the week. We got 2 of them that are pretty exciting for you. You talked about the top 5 matchups. Let's look into it, because this is a classic game. This is the mid-major classic game of the week. In South Carolina, Westwood High School homecoming AME football classic is what they're calling. Number 7 Edward Water Tigers come in at 5-3, 5-2. They're on the road at number 5 Allen Yellow Jackets that come in with a record of 6-2 and 4-2 in the conference race. This is October the 28th at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. That means it'll be high noon over there in the East Coast as they get ready to rumble, if you would. I'm interested in this top 5 matchup. I'm going to start with you, Brian. What do you say in terms of number 7 of the Edgewater Tigers going up with number 5 Allen in Yellow Jackets?
This is going to be. Look, I sort of gave Jaron Russell SIC Offensive Player of the Week last week. I mean, just back-to-back performances, and I think what people may not have seen or saw in the stats is the drive that he engineered in the comeback against Albany State. David Wright of Allen has the numbers, right? And I'm not by much, but he has the numbers. But what Jaron Russell is doing is pretty special. So I think it's kind of fitting that we're going to get a chance to watch two of the top. There's about 4 really strong, 5 maybe good strong quarterbacks in this league.
Right.
I had to make sure I couldn't stop it too. Right, I couldn't stop it too. But these are 2 that is almost like if this is an elimination game. Somebody's gonna get eliminated from the SIAC Offensive Player of the Week, and it's sad that that'll happen. But it has to be that way. But I'm expecting these 2 quarterbacks to put on a show. And whichever defensive unit, defensive coordinator, or defensive secondary back finds a way to make a play in the fourth quarter, that is the guy who should get the game ball. Because, look, otherwise you're just trying to catch up. I think first team to 45 wins, but, I think this is going to be an exciting game.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're in a lot of agreement.
I mean, total agreement. I think defense will be a rumor in this game because when you take a look at these gunslingers, I mean, David Wright, he's averaging 355 yards a game. Jaron Russell, I think you hit the nail on the head the way he engineered that last drive there for Edward Waters. But these quarterbacks are 1-2 in the SIAC in terms of yardage. David Wright has already thrown for over 2,400 yards. Jaron Russell has thrown for over 2,200 yards. So I'm expecting fireworks. You said first to 45. It could easily be first to 50. They're gonna put some numbers up in this game. I'm looking forward to this one. This is gonna be an offensive show, and whomever defense gets that stop, like you said, game balls go to that individual, go to that defensive coordinator, because this is gonna be a fun one.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Since you're talking offense, let's go to our independent mid-major matchup of the game that features Florida Memorial, that also likes to put it up in the air as well. They come in at number 15. The Lions are 4-3, 3-1 at the season. They're on the road with their historic White College matchup against Southeastern Fire, who are 4-3 overall and 3-1. So you see both teams have one conference race lost in the race. Obviously, Lions lost a couple of weeks ago, their first conference loss, so they're trying to stay in the mix. This one is in Lakeland, Florida, at Victory Field. It's the independent matchup out of the Sun Conference at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on Saturday, October the 28th. Sticking with you, Charles, what's your thoughts in terms of this matchup here?
Tough one for the Lions this weekend. They played this team, Southeastern, 3 times, 3 losses, and it hadn't been close in any of those games. So it depends on Florida Memorial quarterback, Saquon Smith. I mean, how does he navigate this Southeastern defense? Is coming off a huge loss. He is the top quarterback in the Sun Conference. But it's going to be a tough one for the Florida Memorial Lions. But I'll go with them on the road. Let's see what happens. Let's see if they can pull off the upset.
Professor Forford, this is in your backyard.
It
right
is.
there in the state of Florida. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
It is. Too bad I'll be in Tallahassee, so I won't be able to check this one out. But
just saying, Just saying.
Yeah, just saying. Hey, it's interesting. Florida Memorial, the computers love Florida Memorial. I mean, matter of fact, they ended up in our top 5, surprisingly to many. But the computers love this. This team averages 529 yards per game. I think I just looked up, and they go up against a defense that is second in the conference, keeping teams under 300. So, I mean, this is that cliche. Do you believe that defense at home can hold off this team? We've seen Florida Memorial put up yards even against Grambling. So whether it's a NAIA or a Division I, Florida Memorial has proven, I think, that they can put up some yards. The question is, can they turn those yards into points in the end zone with 6s instead of 3s? I got to go with Florida Memorial just because I want to see this story keep going. But like you said, Charles, the fact that now they've lost. This is like that coming of age game. You've lost 3 years in a row to this team. You were still finding yourself as a new program in the Sun Conference.
Yeah,
this is happening to Florida Memorial a lot. They're winning. They're beating teams that they've been close to beating the last couple of years, and now they're finally doing it. So I'm going to add Southeastern to the list and give this one to Florida Memorial.
Great point. Great analysis by both. Let me give a statement to Brandon King. He says, "Good evening, all sliding into the lectures hall tardy today. I just want him to know, just like Coach George, we do take attendance in this course lecture. So we just want you to be aware that it is important that you understand that attendance is something that we have a concern with. So make sure you come in class, not only to have your signatures, but you come in on time. With that being said, we'll be right back after this break. We'll come back on the other side. Attendance is mandatory."
T. Madden and Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden and Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
This is Brian Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Mills inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Professor Fulford, Professor Bishop. Let's get into our major division football poll ranking in week number 8. Let's get into it. Much like the mid-major, no team dropped out. Some changes in the middle of the poll, not much at the top. Things are steady as they can be. And that's what you start finding as the season comes on. Oftentimes, things steady Eddie as they add up. We'll see if that continues to be the case. Receiving votes this week, though. Alabama 3-2-2 on the season. Behind them, the Grambling State Tigers are 3-4, 2-2, 154 points. And Prairie View A&M come in and get into basically the top 10 at 3-4, 3-1, 148 points, receiving votes just outside of the top 7. Those that were able to make the top 7, let's get into it. All of them with winning records overall. Number 7, Alabama A&M Bulldogs at 4-3, 2-2 overall, 174 points. Previous ranked 6, so they do drop a spot as they were open this week. At number 6, Alcorn State Braves, 4-3, 3-1. Look out. The Braves are chopping. It looks like they're getting ready. They're making their move and playing some good football. And with their win, they jump over Alabama A&M, 184 points, and are at 6, previous ranked 7. Brings to number 5. Southern Jaguars are 4-3, 3-1. Just part of that tough top part of the Western Division, along with Prairie View that's 3-1 in that race. 187 points, previous ranked 5. interesting because people would say it's all jumbled up in the West, but they are all a part of the top 10. So it'd be interesting to kind of see how that follows out. So should be a good race down the stretch. At number 4, Jackson State Tigers, 5-3, 3-2. They bounce back as they get a win and get it done, 195 points, and they stay at number 4. Bringing us to number 3, talking about Coach Eddie George. He took the Division II program behind the woodshed, and they are looking good. Tennessee State Tigers improved to 5-2, 1-1 in the conference races. They have a good conference race coming up this week. 215 points, the previously ranked 3, so they stay right there and steady Eddie the ship. Above them at number 2, North Carolina Central, the Eagles at 6-1, 1-0, getting a big conference win. Tough matchup on Thursday night. Morgan State did everything they could do, especially on the defensive side, but the championship pedigree of the Eagles was just too much as they get it done. They have 6 first-place votes, but they are at 245, just outside the number 1 spot that belongs to the Florida A&M Rattles, 6-1, 5-0. 6 first-place votes, 246 points, remain number 1. Right now, it looks like you're headed for a collision course for the MEAC SWAC matchup in the Celebration Bowl. And boy, if we allow ourselves just to think it, I know some other teams want to get through it. The SWAC still has the championship game, which is always tough, but you could have 2 teams with 1 loss at this point facing off in the Celebration Bowl. Both teams are currently ranked 1 and 2 in this polls. Most of them are 1 and 2 on all HBCUs across the platforms, and they are both top 20 FCS programs in most polls out there as well. With that being said, I'm gonna go to you first, Charles. What are your thoughts in the top 7 major division poll rankings in week number 8?
Spot on. Alcorn with the week off, sitting at 6 underneath Southern. Southern, good win on the road against Bethune-Cookman. I don't think I can argue with it too much. I think this is about right. Jackson State, good win on the road. Tennessee State is fighting right in there. I mean, Doc, when's the last time we've had Tennessee State in the poll, even this late in the season? I mean, it's been a second. So no, I can't argue whatsoever. I think they are deserving of the ranking. So
yeah, it's been at least a decade. With that being said, I'm gonna turn it over to you, Brian. What are your thoughts? Alcorn State went out there and got it done in terms of Pine Bluff, kind of made them pay. They look like they're improving. You got to start looking at this matchup as your first indication of what could be obviously a rematch in the championship game. You had one earlier when you went on the road to Southern, but then you got those pesky Braves sneaking out there and said they want a chance. With that being said, what are your thoughts in terms of the top 7?
Everything was just about what I had slated. Maybe one team a little higher than another team by a spot, but I mean, really, that's what's interesting about this year. I mean, even your top 2 teams have been they haven't been clean. And when I say clean, they haven't been excellent. They haven't been without their own flaws, you know. I think, you know, we've seen Central have to come from behind. We've seen them struggle a little offensively last week. FAMU, certainly people can pick apart the offense, but their defense is what it is. It's just fascinating that so many teams at the FCS level are kind of doing this. They're just kind of fluctuating up, and they're playing good quarters. I don't think anybody has really played a great game. And maybe, look, we're coming up into November. That's when you want to be playing your best ball, right? So maybe in November, we're going to start to see these teams really play their best ball. At least I hope so. That's the goal, I think, for all of them as they start to wind down to the end of the season and the championship and all the Celebration Bowl hype. But right now, this is kind of one of those weeks where it's just the status quo. Everything is chalk.
Good stuff. You know what this is about, Charles? Some of your Jackson State fans are probably going to be a little mad at you for this. But I think this is a casualty of the prime effect. I had an interview today, writer, journalist from USA Today was asking some questions in regards to Coach Prime and the SWAC, HBCU sports. I liked this question, so hopefully I gave it to him. But then it came up to the Prime effect, and I went back and talked about the 1400 Club. We kind of showed up, and got a chance to get y'all name out there with the pregame show. And was the Charles and Neely. I put that out there that I had one of the first interviews on the show, particularly when it talked about Coach Prime. And it came up, I talked about the Prime effect, and I told him about the history of it and how I looked at it as a merger. We talked about it on the show, and that I had researched previously about the Flutie effect. And so there were some indications that I thought this would take place. Did I know it would have the magnitude that it took place? No. But I say all this, Brian, I think what you are spoiled with and don't even realize, and a lot of fans out there, is you're seeking that perfection, which is what you had much closer what was being done because of the caliber of team that Jackson State was and what Coach Prime pushed for. And I think that is a little indication where you're getting a little fall from that and why you're wanting to see a little more clean ball and a little more of your top teams, whether it's Central or Florida A&M, really separating themselves from the field. And I don't think you get those teams very often. And I'm saying at any level. Hell, you have a lot of folks that are saying that even at the Power Five, and obviously I don't like to bring them much on the show, but I think it's perfect for this conversation. People are saying there's no clear number one team. Obviously, Georgia is looking to do something that hadn't been done in a long time in terms of three-peating, but who they played and how they played early, people are not convinced that they are a great team. Obviously, they may be the best team this year to win a championship. I think sometimes you have that just in general, and I think specifically for HBCUs and FCS this year, you kind of have yourself chasing this framework of what you believe is greatness. With that being said, go ahead. You want to jump in?
That's a great point, because think back to what I remember SWAC Media Day. And I know Rattler Nation got on me because I kept trying to tell people what statistically Jackson State did last year was like so high up here when I went back and looked at the numbers that I had to even appreciate what we saw. And it didn't end the way everyone thought it would, and it came short of the perfect season. But when you go back and look at statistically everything they did, man, that was a team and a season. And that's what we're all looking at. We're, like you said, we're all looking at what we experienced last year, the points per game. I mean, it was some Billy Joe-esque stuff that Jackson said, and that's with the defense on one side. You had a top-rated defense on one side of the ball, a high-scoring offense on the other side of the ball, a high-level Power 5 Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback. I mean, that's what we hadn't seen since the 90s in the SWAC.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I told somebody, simply put, my belly is full. Like I've seen like high caliber football over the past 2 seasons, and I'm content. I of course, you want to see your team do really well, but it's like, I'm sort of in a watch and see sort of mode this past season or this season, but it's like I've seen something that quite honestly you just don't see every year. So
that's very true. Even if you go back 2 seasons ago, they didn't go undefeated, but you had FAMU defensive at least that was playing at such a high level too that you had it for 2 teams in regards to them being both in the top 25. Both of them, chasing that championship and forcing the other one to play well and chasing it down. FAMU got the playoff bid because they were having that such strong, magical season. And then let me add one last thing. Think about the coaching tree that was done in terms of those programs, but particularly at Jackson State. You have T.C. Taylor that has, moved to the head coaching position. We know what he does in his pedigree. He was offensive coordinator. His natural progression was to become head coach. Very solid coach to be. He's going to learn whatever. But think about him. he was buried to some degree in the coaching tree. So think about how much coaching pedigree was deep at Jackson State as well, not just the players and those playing, but the coaching talent around that team was extremely deep. And you lose some of it. Obviously, you bring in great coaches as well, but all of that was essentially in one place. That's a lot when you really start to think about, and we won't, until we get further out of history, we'll get a much more appreciation, but sometimes it's hard to live in it. So I'm glad you brought that up, Brian, because it gave me a chance to really think about it. And then in the interview today, I really shined on it. So it seemed like the right time to come to put that out there in terms of getting that out there. With that being said, let's take our last break, come back on the other side. We're going to look at some of these key matchups for the major division games of the week.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Will with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with the professors, Professor Pulford, Professor Bishop. Let's get into the major games of the week and let y'all break these down and diagnose them if you would and tell me what your thoughts. We're going to start with the classic games of the week as we do. This time we got a top 10 matchup in the Magic City Classic. This doesn't happen very often. Both these teams are not necessarily in the race for the Eastern Division, and oftentimes one is and one is not. This is one of the first times when you come in with both teams playing pretty well, coming off of victories. And you have number 7 Alabama A&M Bulldogs at 4-3, 2-2 overall, versus number 8 Alabama State Hornets that are 3-3 overall and 2-2 in terms of conference race. Alabama A&M has an outside shot, so this is really big for them. They have to win it to make that game against Florida A&M in a couple of weeks mean something. If not, it locks it all down, and who better to get Alabama A&M out of the race than the Hornets in terms of their rivals? With that being said, I'm going to go to you, Brian. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup in the Magic City Classic between top 10 teams, number 7 versus number 8?
Well, it's hard for me to not be a little selfish here. And we'll see. I mean, look, FAMU's magic number is 2. One of those 2 involves Alabama State beating Alabama A&M. So, but I do think what's interesting is, and I was looking up the history, and I think Connell Maynard has, prior to last year, when they gave up 14 fourth quarter points, he had not lost to Alabama State. Am I correct in that? I mean, somebody out there do the math, but I think that's correct. He had never lost to Alabama State. And then last year, they gave up 14 points in the fourth quarter, ended up losing that ball game. Alabama State supposedly has the better defense, I think. Both teams coming off a bye. I'm just gonna stick to what's in my pocket and just hope that Alabama State finds a way to get a win. I'll be scoreboard watching, stat taking in Tallahassee while I'm looking up my phone over here. And we'll know. That's the one good thing, because if I'm not mistaken, that game will have finished before the end of FAMU and Prairie View. So, I mean, there'll be a lot of people watching, and I'm sure the PA guy will do his thing, and especially if FAMU has a lead, that place is going to be ridiculous by about mid-fourth. I'm making a bold prediction, Doc. By the mid-fourth quarter, there's going to be a chill in your spine, and they might just pull the cannons out and just start firing them off. Just no reason. Just boom, boom. They're like, what happened? You can't do that in the middle of a play. Boom, doesn't matter. We're going to win the SWAC East. Boom, there's another cannon.
I love it. Charles, turn this matchup. I love the way Brian was able to turn it over to FAMU.
I did, didn't I?
I know. A slight pivot there.
Yeah, we are talking about the Magic City Classic, number 7 versus number 8. Let me reset this before you answer to make sure you're talking about the right game. This is number 7 Alabama A&M, the Bulldogs, versus number 8 Alabama State Hornets in the Magic City Classic. The game is at 2:30 and is on ESPN Plus.
I mean, this is one of those classic games where you're asking, they're both Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type teams, and you're trying to figure out, who brings the quarterback that day. Quarterback play is going to be key in this one. Xavier Langford, huge game last time out against Grambling. Whoever they had spying him, he wasn't good enough because he ran for 196 yards. But Bubba Adams is going to be waiting on him if he takes off out of that pocket in this game. So I think that's, one of those little individual matchups that I'm going to be paying attention to. And the question for me is, can Alabama A&M muster enough offense to get some points on the board? Because I just think, it's been such a struggle for Alabama State to score and to move the ball up and down the field. They played a ugly game versus Jack State, but they won it. They played with a short field, and they were able to get some things in the fourth quarter. But I just think overall, I think Alabama A&M just has a little bit more offense than Alabama State, and they'll get the victory.
Plus, I want that Alabama A&M Bulldogs FAMU game to mean something. We got something to talk about. I need
to mean something. Exactly. I need a Carnell man a bark. I need a bark this weekend.
Hey, you notice ever since he
independent
stopped
non-conference major division game of the week. And speaking of Connor Main, in the media session, he did tell head coach Eddie Robinson, "We coming."
Yeah, I heard about that.
He loves to have fun, so I love his attitude. Obviously, it's the ups and downs, and people, to get it, you got to be able to. To give it, you got to be prepared to get it. And sometimes he does that, but he does it all in faith. With that being said, let's go to this next matchup. As you have back in Nashville, you have Big South OVC matchup. Lindenwood 3-4, 1-2. They're at number 3. Tennessee State Tigers at a 5-2, 1-1. So it's interesting to see what this looks like in terms of how this may get done. Tennessee State is rolling. Can they continue to get it done? This Lindenwood is moving up for Division II, so they're still in that transition. But new rival, if you would call it that, a new matchup, at least in the conference. They officially joined the Big South, but you do have the OVC, but you have the partnership with the Big South OVC in terms of conference race. And Tennessee State is right in the middle of the mix, a game behind, as it looks like now. With that being said, Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup here?
This is a game Tennessee State has to have, and this is a game where Tennessee State's defense has to really take over. They're taking on the number 2 Russian team in the Big South OVC in Lindenwood, but you got to protect home, and this is the time of the year that we start seeing Tennessee State fade when they start getting into conference play. Can't happen this year. Monroe Beard needs to have a big game. He has to have a multiple tackle game where Tennessee State's defense goes off. And I think the quarterback play for Tennessee State is going to be huge. They got to muster up some points in this one. Going to be a good one. Going to be a ugly one. But I'm going to go with the Tigers.
Good point. I like where you're going with that. Obviously, Tennessee State had the defensive player of the week in that matchup. I'm going to go to you, Brian. What are your thoughts in terms of Lindenwood versus Tennessee State Tigers?
So Lindenwood, just in case people didn't know, is a university located in Missouri. If I'm not mistaken, hold on, let me exactly where in Missouri. Hold on, I had it just pulled up. St. Charles, Missouri. So just in case anyone didn't know, but 2772, I think, is the number that was there this past weekend at Nissan Stadium, that big massive ballpark in Nashville. And so the question is, can you get over 5? Maybe can you get over 7? Can you get anywhere between 5 and 7? Will Tennessee State fans come out, because this isn't a guarantee. They should win, but it's not a guarantee. It's a conference game. Hopefully they've heard enough from media folks to get behind TSU and show up and get a win. I think that's paramount. Like you said, I mean, this is one of the best seasons since I think the 2012 or 2013 team. That team actually won a Black college title. I was looking up earlier. So, I mean, it's been a decade since Tennessee State has really been this relevant at this point in the season. So, looking forward to seeing what the Tigers can do, and hopefully, Tiger Nation show up for these fellas.
Good point when you talk about what will they do. Obviously, they got a chance to make a statement. It's going to be fascinating to see, can they continue to find a way to get it done. I'm fascinated in so many ways about these matchups, particularly when you have a new team in terms of what that looks like. I did want to give a shout out to Tennessee State. Terrell Allen, defensive lineman, 6'5", 275, Little Rock, Arkansas, Tennessee State, getting the player of the week this week as he continues to show up and show out. He needs to come in big in this game, as Charles alluded to continue to keep Tennessee State in the race. And maybe the fans will start to follow as they get a little more excitement, or maybe it's time for them to just pack up and beg for an invite to the SWAC now. With that being said, we'll get into our next matchup, independent non-conference matchup. I say that because they had a chance out there, and I don't know if the SWAC still wants it. With that being said, let's get into the next matchup. You're right. Hampton, Virginia, Armstrong Stadium. It is homecoming for the Pirates. They have a HBCU coming to them. It happens to be of the Coastal Athletic Conference, formerly known as the Colonial CAA. North Carolina A&T State Aggies 1-6 and 0-4. Last time we talked about the Aggies, it was because of their matchup against North Carolina Central. It's been ugly for them. They're 0-4 in the conference. Hampton Pirates are 3-4, 1-3. Question is, there was a bet out there in terms of Morgan State with the number of Colonial teams they were playing, who would have the most wins. Morgan State has 1. So Hampton, they may be into it. Aggies may be looking to see if they can get their 1 in this matchup, or will Hampton's find a way to right the ship, as they were flying high for a while, but now they get into the conference race. They've stubbed their toe. They were ranked as high as 3 in many of people's polls. I think at one time we had a professor on this show, a friend of ours, that talked about had them ranked number 1. I don't know who we're talking about, but I'm just saying. With that being said, Brian, what are your thoughts on this matchup? I'm not saying any names, but Brian, what are your thoughts in terms of
Doc, I don't know that guy either. That seems like a long time ago. There was some Kool-Aid involved. An email might have gotten hacked. I don't know what happened. But that guy, Hampton went south after that. Literally, stub a toe, more like got a foot cut off. Is what happened, and it's been pretty bad for Hampton. But hey, here comes the Aggies, and so all things can get right. A&T is one of the few teams, Doc, that they are actually not only just 1-6 straight up, but 1-6 against the spread. Now that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. So, a lot it's homecoming. So a lot of people's money in the state of Virginia. I don't know if Virginia is legal sports betting or not, but if it is, a lot of people in the state of Virginia will be betting on Hampton this weekend. And if I could, I got to give a shout out to Stephen J. Gaither as well. A great article and sort of a retort towards a column that was posted by a newspaper columnist out of Delaware, who had made some comments about the attendance in the CAA as it related to Delaware. And he chose to use Hampton and the attendance that weekend, which was pretty poor. But look, we understand Hampton was playing Delaware. Folks really weren't traveling to go see Delaware, not with homecoming being the next week. Okay. And none of that stuff was brought up, as well as none of the other CAA opponents that Delaware has played. But anyway, so he chose to take a cheap shot at Hampton, and props to Stephen Gaither for actually coming back with some strong statistics and numbers. And kind of look, we understand what it is. We understand the sort of disconnect that not only Hampton fans have, but A&T fans have, and Tennessee State fans have with playing in the conferences that they're playing. And he backed it up with stats and numbers, unlike his fellow, well, I wouldn't say his fellow, but the other journalist, quote unquote, from out of Delaware. So I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Gaither, HBCUGameDay.com, and Hampton, show up and sell out. It's homecoming. It's going to be a busy weekend in the Tidewater Bay, because Norfolk State has their homecoming too that weekend.
Oh, wow.
Good stuff. Great point when you pulled that out there, and shout out to Steve Gaither. And he must have struck a nerve, because another guy on the Twitter trolls came up there and was concerned about his retort to the journalist. So I was like, okay, Stephen Gaither, you're doing your job. Folks talking about you, and they're nervous because you enter into space and you're telling a different story. There's nothing wrong with you telling a different story, your story, our story.
Counter narrative.
Yeah, I like the fact they put it out there. Usually these are our matchups of the day. We do have this as a matchup for Thursday, but I'd be remiss if I didn't put it on the table since we have Brian here. Let's talk about this top 10 matchup. It is our bonus SWAC Major Division Game of the Week. It is number 10, Prairie View A&M versus number 1, FAMU, Tallahassee, Florida. Bragg Memorial Stadium. It is homecoming, if you hadn't heard it enough times by yet. I think one of our guests has told you that. Breast cancer awareness as well. So they're going to celebrate and educate. Kudos to the Rattlers out there. Saturday, October the 28th, 3 o'clock. This game has been flexed. It was on ESPN Plus. It's been moved to ESPNU to let you know some of the importance on the matchup. It is one of the top teams in the West, three-way tie at 3-1. You heard the other two that are in the top 7 poll rankings, but Prairie View comes in at number 2. The Panthers are 3-4, 3-1, and they're at number 1, Florida A&M at home, as FAMU is 6-1, 5-0 in the race, trying to find a way to get it done. This is also uniquely important. If Prairie View was able to win this game and win out for the East, and if both teams have a 7-1 record, let's say that, or somehow they both are tied at 6-2, the tie break, if Prairie View comes out of the West and FAMU comes out of the East as it's looking, then because they would have the head-to-head matchup, Charles, we could rescind our Southwest Airlines ticket because we would be at home. It would be right here in our backyard at Prairie View, and we'd be driving down there and picking up Brian at the airport to see this matchup. With that being said, I'm going to go to you first, Charles, in terms of this matchup, because I do think it's fascinating in a lot of ways. And you obviously called the game for Prairie View. So you have some insights that people may not realize. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
I think this game rests with the play of Trayvon Conlon. I think that's going to be huge with regards to him showing up and having a big game. I think from looking at Prairie View, they have a three-headed monster at running back, and it depends on the health of Ahmad Antoine. But Ahmad Antoine, in a lot of ways, him and Ladarius Owens are similar backs. They are backs who can run in between the tackles. They can bounce it outside. But you add Caleb Johnson to that, Connor Wisham to that. Connor Wisham is a home run threat. Prairie View has the talent to go down there to Tallahassee and come away with the victory. The question is, can they put it all together for 4 quarters? And I think that has been the frustration, not just with the fan base, but the coaching staff as well. And as Coach McDowell is said, even in the SWAC media telecalls, it seems as though it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And we've seen that throughout the course of the year with regards to Prairie View. A veteran ball club with playmakers, but they have a tendency to really shoot themselves in the foot. And this is that game. They simply can't do that.
Good stuff, good stuff. With that said, let me go to you, Brian, in terms of this matchup. We'll give you the final word as the guest lecturer of the day. See what your thoughts are in terms of the Panthers taking on the Rattlers. Number 1 team. Let me say this before I give it to you, just to at least give you pause, maybe, to get your thoughts in here. Silas Edward McMorris says, ask Southern about scheduling Prairie View for homecoming. IJS, I'm just saying. Maybe a little too late for that, but what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, if that's the case, you might want to ask Grambling and UAPB about that distraction committee, that when you get to Tallahassee and when you're on the sidelines, it's hard to focus. It's hard to stay focused. So, I mean, I'm just gonna say, the distraction committee will be heavy and about. But what's interesting, and this is what's scary. Yes, definitely. Go ahead, Doc. What's definitely scary about this contest is that the last game that Prairie View played, they were embarrassed, 30-0 by Houston. Not even Baptist anymore, Houston Christian. They got rid of being called Baptist. We just Christian now. All right. Now, I don't know what that say about being Baptist or not, but anyway, we're not going to go there. But that's what you just lost to. You lost. So 2 weeks, and, I don't think anybody should have got a bye week when you lose 30-0. We're on normal schedule for the next 2 weeks. Nobody's going to go home and celebrate and do all this extra stuff that other teams did on their bye week. So that gives me a little bit of concern about what type of Prairie View team we're going to get. Usually, when you are a team that is of championship potential, and you usually show up after getting embarrassed. So that's what we're going to see. I think it's the great unknown. I know FAMU has we got a great winning streak at home, great winning streak in the SWAC. All that's on the line. The guys have got to play at a high level. This is the last SWAC regular season game of this year. So they got to play at a high level. But that's what gives me pause about Prairie View. And I gotta really kind of dig deep into the numbers and really look and try to see, who is this team? Is this the team that beat Alcorn State, who we also are talking about as a contender, or are they the team that has lost to
the Christian schools?
Yes, they've lost to Christian schools. Yes, I mean, we'll be a Christian school as well, this weekend, or the agricultural and mechanical Christian University. It takes. Hey, we used to be FAMC, so I mean, what? FAMCU? I'm just saying.
Oh, that's pretty good. I like that. That's good, man.
We need to find the heathen
y'all
school.
had all y'all stuff on, so I thought I'd represent a little bit too. I didn't want to make it personal out there. Good stuff. Great job. Enjoyed having you on here. In all seriousness, I think it's a great matchup. Last weekend, FAMU came to Houston, represented, and we got a little bit into the Texas versus Florida. Obviously, great players per capita in a lot of ways. You talk about coming out of Mississippi. Great players coming out of Louisiana in terms of those that ultimately go pro, Hall of Famers all throughout it. Alabama obviously has a rich history of great players in Arkansas, Pine Bluff going around the SWAC particularly. But it's something about those long stories about Texas and Florida in terms of those matchups with athletes. We've seen it at the high school level. Obviously, we see it now in the SWAC. And it'll be fascinating again because I'll talk to Coach Bubba in terms of his thoughts, in terms of that. Obviously, Florida kid themselves spending more time in Texas in a lot of ways and now heading a Texas team over to Prairie View. And we'll talk about this a little more on the show tomorrow. The rich history between these two schools with the legendary Jake Gaithers and Billy Nix in terms of some of those classic matchups they had that ultimately led to Black College National Championship. So there's some history on the line in terms of that. And I want people to at least recognize that and understand. Let's celebrate that rich history of these two programs, particularly under great leadership, Hall of Fame coaches that fought for more than just a football program, but changing the landscape and the history about that, playing in championship games. Obviously, Jake Gaither, you talk about the history there in regards to what he did in opening the door to desegregate the NIA. His Rattlers were not able to take advantage of that because of the time and the governor in the state of Florida. But guess what team that got into the playoffs based on all the coaches, but a lot of the push that he had? It was the Prairie View A&M Panthers, and they made it all the way to the championship game and lost the tough one to St. John's when the quarterback was hurt in the semifinals. But that's the connection and the rich history between these programs, both them coming to Prairie View, coming and playing in the Prairie View Bowl, and them in Prairie View going down there and playing in the Orange Blossom Classic. Well, now it's a conference matchup, and it counts. With that being said, thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta, Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watch, Charles Bishop. Again, we want to thank you for Brian joining us today. We want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watch and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We'll be back on Thursday to give you an update. But check us out tomorrow. Charles and I will be on O&G Strike Zone Special Edition as we talk about this matchup. And at that time, I'll really dig into history and give you some head-to-head matchup, where games will play, give you some scores of those matchups, take you a little bit down history lane, and then obviously we'll back it up and we'll play and tell you the importance of this matchup for this year. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil. That's DrKenyattaCavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles? Horse. Brian?
Lecture.
I almost didn't call it his name when he did all this with his phone. Dismissed.